All right. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was I had some questions about policy JPA, which is our substance abuse policy. And this, I think I've mentioned it to most board members, but this came up from a concern from a citizen. Mr. Falls, do you want to come up here? So I just...
We'll do it.
Yeah, do it.
Whatever you want. Does this fall under bullying?
No, it does not fall under bullying. It's substance abuse. It's different than bullying. So, no, I just, the questions, so did a substance abuse policy, JPA, under the policy statement, we say school officials will involve appropriate law enforcement agencies when violations of this policy occur on school property. And, but I think our procedure is different than that, or can you explain what our current procedure is? My suggestion is not to change the procedure because the procedure seems to be working for the staff and for the students. My suggestion is to correct the policy to align it with our procedures. But
right. I was aware of that concern by the citizen as well. And I can tell you our procedures, I believe, are in line. I can understand the confusion, but we can certainly change the language to make that more clear. But what happens is whenever there's an offense involving substance abuse, one of the steps that administrators take, and this is outlined in the administrative regulations, is they contact Mr. Williams, the coordinator of school security, to discuss the appropriateness of involving law enforcement. And I'll give you an example. A simple possession of marijuana does not result in a student being taken into custody from law enforcement. They won't do it. They do a referral to juvenile services. There are criminal charges. So there's not much point in involving the police in coming out to investigate that when we can do that referral to juvenile services. Violations that involve the student's own prescription drugs or over-the-counter drugs are not necessarily unlawful acts. They're violations of our board policy. So we have always considered Mr. Williams, who maintains a special police commission, as a law enforcement agency for Carroll County Public Schools. Even though he's an agency of one, that's always been our consideration. So I can understand the confusion, and again, if it's the board's desire to change that language, that's not a big deal. We can certainly do that.
Anytime we have an opportunity to clear up misunderstandings,
sure,
just further delineating that to specific procedures, I'm in favor of it. I don't have any objection to it.
Sure.
If it's confusing, let's make it clear.
Right. And again, the regulations kind of spell out in more detail those steps.
They did.
But the reference in the policy, and then there's another place in the regulations, I think, that uses the same language. Yeah, I can see the justification for that. So if that's what you'd like, I'm sure we can bring something back to you. It'll give me an opportunity to reformat the policy into the new format, too.
Yeah. Board members, are we okay with Mr. Falls making that correction and bringing it back to us?
Yeah, I can support that.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Mr. Falls.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay. We are almost done.